Nice to meet you, Nick. It's a pleasure having you here.
Hey.
It is nice to meet you, finally. I've heard an awful lot about you.
Hey.
1 minute, they're setting the dinner table. Next minute, they're gone. No goodbye, no packed bags, not even cheesy spin-off. Just vanished. Today, we're diving into TV's greatest mystery. Characters who disappeared without a trace. From forgotten siblings to kids who blinked out of existence mid-season. We're counting down 10 TV faces that ghosted their shows harder than your ex in '78. And trust us, number 1 rewrote sitcom history. Number 10, imagine a guy so cool he wasn't even supposed to stick around, but ended up taking over the show. That was Nick Moore on Family Ties. He walked into the Keaton home with a leather jacket, a gravelly voice, and a heart of gold, and the audience ate it up. Mallory's oddball boyfriend, played by Scott Valentine, was meant to be a one-time guest. But after that first appearance, America wanted more Nick. NBC saw an opportunity and went all in. They tried to give him not 1, not 2, but 3 different spin-offs. In the first, Nick moved in with his grandfather, played by Herschel Bernardi, but sadly, the actor passed away before it could air. The second had Nick working at a juvenile detention center. It fizzled before filming. The third one, The Art of Being Nick, actually aired, did well in ratings, and even featured Julia Louis-Dreyfus, but NBC still passed. They pulled the plug anyway. So, Nick came back to Family Ties for a brief return in the final season. And then, he was gone. No farewell, no storyline. No, Nick's moving to New York, or Nick and Mallory broke up. He was just erased from the picture like he never existed. After building an entire future around him, they couldn't even write a goodbye. Behind the scenes, the producers wanted to focus on the core Keaton family as the series came to an end. So, they quietly cut Nick out. Just like that. Scott Valentine went on to do more acting and eventually moved into producing and business consulting. But for fans, Nick remains the ultimate what could have been. A breakout star who was loved by millions and still got left behind without a single goodbye scene. Number 9. Imagine waking up one day and your child is just gone. Not in real life, thank goodness, but on television. That's exactly what happened with Tiffany Holloway, the sweet, soft-spoken daughter of Rose on the beloved 80s sitcom 227. One episode, she's there, part of the family. The next, she's vanished, and no one, not even her mother, seems to notice or care. Tiffany wasn't just a background extra. She was a real part of the community, always by Brenda's side, helping balance out her best friend's wild energy. Together, they gave us the kind of innocent childhood moments that reminded us of simpler times. For many of us watching, Tiffany was the quiet one we saw a little of ourselves in, shy, observant, and grounded. She made her debut in Season 1 and quickly fit right into the show's family dynamic. Rose, her mom, was the hard-working single mother, and their neighbors, Mary, Sandra, and Brenda, became an extended family. The chemistry was there. The laughs were real. And with an Oscar winner-to-be, Regina King, playing Brenda, the show had something special. But after Season 2, Tiffany started to fade. She appeared in just one episode of Season 3. Then gone. No, Tiffany went off to camp, or she's staying with her dad. Nothing. The show moved forward as if Rose had never had a daughter. And no one, no character, ever mentioned her again. It was like Tiffany had been wiped from the entire 227 universe. So what really happened? Behind the scenes, it wasn't a writing decision or a character issue. It was personal. Kia Goodwin, the young actress who played Tiffany, had a mother who didn't want to continue living in California. NBC respected that and released her from her contract. Simple. But instead of giving Tiffany a proper exit, the show just quietly deleted her. Even now, fans of 227 remember how strange it was. How does a show just forget a whole child? No send-off, no closure, no nothing. Tiffany Holloway's disappearance might not have involved drama or scandal, but it remains one of the most baffling and silent exits in TV history. Number 8. She brought a notepad to a gunfight, and somehow she held her own. That was Amy Amanda Allen on the A-Team. Smart, gutsy, and always 2 steps ahead, Amy was the original woman in the van, the grounded heart of a show packed with explosions and one-liners. But just as quickly as she joined the team, she disappeared. No farewell. No, thanks for everything, Amy. Just gone. And what makes it worse? She deserved so much more. Amy, played by Melinda Cooley, first appeared in the show's pilot. A determined newspaper reporter who got swept up in the A-Team's world of chaos. At first, she was our window into the madness. She asked the questions we would ask. She helped drive the plot, brought balance, and added a different kind of courage, one that didn't rely on guns or catchphrases. But things weren't all smooth behind the scenes. Melinda Cooley didn't just want to sit in the background. She wanted Amy to take part in the action. She wanted her to do more than just ride shotgun and take notes. The producers? Not so keen on the idea. And then there was George Peppard, star of the show and reportedly not thrilled with a female cast member getting too much attention. By season 2, the writing was on the wall. Amy was sent on assignment to Jakarta, which in TV talk means you're not coming back. There was no send-off episode, no emotional goodbye with Hannibal or Murdoch. She was there one episode and gone the next, replaced by silence, and later a failed attempt to introduce another female character, Tanya, who also didn't last. It's frustrating because Amy was more than a tag-along. She was smart, capable, and had the potential to grow into something iconic. But in the testosterone-fueled 80s world of action TV, there wasn't much room for a woman who wasn't there to scream or be rescued. Melinda Cooley moved on to other roles and continued acting for years, but Amy Amanda Allen remains one of TV's most abrupt vanishing acts. A character who didn't get shot, captured, or killed, just quietly erased as if the team never needed her. And yet, for those of us who remember, she was always part of the plan. Number 7. She was bold. She was fiery. She was the kind of daughter who challenged her mom, pushed every button, and still made you love her anyway. Julie Cooper was the emotional engine of One Day at a Time, until she wasn't. One moment she's front and center, raising a baby and arguing with her mom. The next, gone. No goodbye, no tears, no closure. Just vanished, like yesterday's newspaper. Played by Mackenzie Phillips, Julie was the eldest daughter of single mom and Romano. She wasn't always easy to love, especially not for Anne, but that was the point. Julie was headstrong, complicated, and very real. Her journey over the years showed her getting married, giving birth to baby Annie, and trying to build a life while still figuring out who she was. For fans, she felt like family. We laughed with her, cried with her, and cheered her on, even when she made mistakes. But behind the scenes, Mackenzie Phillips was fighting a much bigger battle, one that viewers didn't see. She struggled with substance abuse throughout her time on the show. After season 5, she was let go due to her addiction issues. Miraculously, she returned in season 7. Fans welcomed her back with open arms, hopeful she was getting a second chance. But the comeback didn't last. Partway through the final season, she relapsed, and the show let her go again. This time, there was no graceful exit. No heartfelt family scene. Julie just stopped showing up. The writers offered half-hearted explanations, vague references, and a letter or two. But for a character who had once been the beating heart of the show, it felt cold. She simply disappeared from the family story. What makes Julie's vanishing so unforgettable is how personal it felt. She wasn't just any side character. She was Anne's daughter, a sister, a mother, and suddenly, she was treated like a footnote. In later years, Mackenzie Phillips spoke openly about her struggles, her healing, and the pain behind the scenes. Knowing that now, her disappearance feels even heavier. Julie Cooper's exit wasn't just a storyline that fizzled. It was a real-life tragedy hidden behind a laugh track. And for fans of One Day at a Time, it still feels like an empty chair at the dinner table that no one ever filled. Number 6. He was the adorable little boy with the big eyes and even bigger smile. Richie Crawford lit up the Winslow household on Family Matters, bringing laughter, one-liners, and the kind of sweet innocence every family sitcom needs. But by the final season, Richie wasn't just missing from dinner. He was missing from the whole show. No goodbye, no hug, not even a bedtime story. Just gone. and the Winslows didn't say a word. Richie was first introduced as the son of Rachel, Harriet Winslow's sister, played by young Brighton McClure, now known as Brighton James. Richie quickly became a fan favorite. His charm was undeniable. Whether he was copying Steve Urkel's antics or delivering the punchline with perfect timing, Richie was comedy gold. For several seasons, he was the Winslow family's youngest joy until baby Judy came along. Then something changed. When actress Thelma Hopkins, who played Rachel, left the show around 1993 to star in another sitcom, you'd expect her on-screen son to leave with her. But that didn't happen. Richie stayed behind with the Winslows. In fact, he became even more involved. He still lived in the house, showed up in family scenes, and continued to be Steve Urkel's tiny sidekick. Everything seemed fine, until it wasn't. By the time season 9 arrived, Richie's screen time started shrinking. Fewer lines, fewer scenes. Then one episode, he was gone. No mention, no update. Not even a Richie staying with Rachel. Just silence. The Winslow family moved on like he'd never lived under their roof. Behind the scenes, Family Matters had transformed. What began as a warm family sitcom had become something else entirely. The Steve Urkel Science Fiction Hour. There were time machines, shrinking formulas, even robot clones. And amid all that chaos, a regular kid like Richie didn't quite fit the new direction. Brighton James stepped away from acting for a while, but he came back strong, landing the role of Devin Hamilton on The Young and the Restless. He's been on that show since 2004 and even reunited with his TV mom, Thelma Hopkins, in 2021. So maybe disappearing from the Winslow living room wasn't the worst thing that ever happened to Richie. But for those of us watching, his silent exit still hurts. Because when a show about family forgets a family member, that's a goodbye we never got to hear. Number 5. He walked into America's favorite family like a quiet storm, calm, steady, and full of mystery. Martin Kendall, Denise Huxtable's surprise husband on The Cosby Show, showed up without warning but quickly found his place in the Huxtable fold. And just as quietly as he arrived, he disappeared. No final hug, no dramatic farewell, just gone. And somehow, no one seemed to ask, "Hey, where'd Martin go?" Martin was introduced in season 6, and he came with baggage, good baggage. A daughter named Olivia, played by the irresistible Raven-Symoné. Denise, who'd been off in Africa, came back home married to this quiet, respectful Navy man. Cliff and Claire were stunned. The viewers were too. But Martin wasn't some flash-in-the-pan character. He stuck around. Episode after episode, he helped raise Olivia, loved Denise, and slowly earned the Huxtables' respect. He wasn't flashy like Theo. He didn't toss out punchlines like Rudy. But Martin was dependable, solid, a real presence. He felt like a permanent part of the family. Until he wasn't. Martin's final appearance came in an episode titled Olivia Comes Out of the Closet during season 8. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No emotional clues. No signs of a goodbye. Then silence. Martin was never seen again. In the final season, we learn, through casual mention, that he's stationed in Singapore and Denise has gone with him. Olivia? She stays with Cliff and Claire. As for Martin, just a name spoken over the phone. What's even stranger, in the series finale, they reveal Denise is pregnant with Martin's child. But we don't see them. No loving family moment. No warm, closing scene. Just a voice on the other end of the line. Behind the scenes, The Cosby Show was nearing its end. Writers were tying up loose ends, and apparently, Martin didn't make the cut. Maybe they thought viewers wouldn't notice. But we did. Because Martin had become more than a side character. He was family. Joseph C. Phillips, who played Martin, went on to have a successful career in acting, writing, and public speaking. But to fans of the show, Martin Kendall remains one of the strangest sitcom disappearances ever. A devoted husband and stepfather, who simply faded out of the picture without a trace. Number 4. Before Sophia stole our hearts with her purse full of one-liners, there was Coco, the original 5th Golden Girl. Yep, you heard that right. In the very first episode of The Golden Girls, there was another roommate living under that Miami roof. His name was Coco, and he was charming, quick-witted, and openly gay, a bold move for 1985 television. He cooked, offered advice, and fit right into the group. And then he was gone. Not a word, not a peep. Just vanished faster than Rose's stories about Street Olaf. Coco was played by actor Charles Levin, and in that one and only episode, the pilot, he played a major role. He wasn't just there to serve meals. He was the girls' confidant, their shoulder to lean on, their sass master in the kitchen. He bantered with Blanche, sympathized with Rose, and kept Dorothy grounded. Honestly, he felt like someone who'd been part of the group for years. He even had more lines than Sophia. So what happened? Well, something unexpected. Estelle Getty, who played Sophia, was only supposed to be a guest star in that pilot. But when producers showed the episode to test audiences, Sophia absolutely stole the show. Her fiery personality, tiny frame, and unforgettable timing made viewers fall in love instantly. The decision was quick and clear. Sophia needed to be a full-time cast member. But here's the problem. There wasn't room for two snappy sidekicks. The writers had to make a choice, and Coco got the short end of the cheesecake. He was written out without explanation, never mentioned again. It was like he'd never sautéed a single meal in that kitchen. To make matters worse, many of Coco's best lines were cut from the final aired pilot to make room for Sophia's scenes. So not only did he lose his spot on the show, his one big moment was trimmed down before it ever aired. Talk about a raw deal. Years later, one of the show's writers admitted they regretted not doing more with Coco. At one point, there was even an idea for him to run a bed and breakfast in Key West. But the network moved on, and so did viewers. Quickly. Still, diehard fans haven't forgotten. Coco has become a trivia question, a cult favorite, and a moment for new viewers binge-watching the show. He may have only lasted one episode, but he's forever part of Golden Girls history. Number 3. He showed up with a bowl haircut and a blank stare, and before you knew it, he was living with the Bundys. His name? 7. And in the world of Married with Children, he was one of the most confusing, short-lived characters to ever crash a sitcom. One episode he's calling Peggy Mom, the next, he's completely gone. No adoption papers, no custody hearing, not even a quick goodbye. Just poof, erased like a bad dream. 7 came along in season 7. Yep, really, supposedly left behind by Peggy's cousins. He was meant to be the fresh blood to shake up the Bundy household. A cute kid in a show famous for being anything but cute. You've got Al Bundy, the shoe-selling king of misery. Peggy, the housewife who hates cooking. Kelly, the teenage bombshell. Bud, the smart-mouthed son. And then there was 7. It didn't take long for fans to revolt. Viewers weren't looking for heartwarming hugs or diaper jokes. They wanted sarcasm, insults, and total dysfunction. 7 didn't fit. He stuck out like a cheerleader at a biker bar. Ratings dipped. Fan letters turned nasty. The network got nervous. So what did they do? They did what any shameless, irreverent show might do. They made him disappear. Not dramatically, not emotionally, just off the screen. One week he was there, the next gone. No explanation. The Bundys never said a word. It was like 7 had never existed. Well, almost. In a blink and you'll miss it gag later that same season, 7's face shows up on a milk carton labeled missing. That was it. That was the show's goodbye. A joke about a missing child. And in typical Married with Children fashion, it was twisted, dark, and kind of hilarious. 7's real-life fate was sealed behind scenes. The character didn't land, and the writers knew they'd made a mistake. They just didn't bother to fix it with a storyline. In sitcom history, his vanishing act became legendary. He's the ultimate, let's pretend that never happened character. Actor Shane Sweet, who played 7, went on to do other work and eventually stepped away from Hollywood. But fans of the show still remember. Not because he made us laugh, but because he showed us, even in the wildest, most inappropriate comedies, there are some things the audience simply won't accept. 7 tried to join the family, but the family and the fans sent him packing. Number 2, she was the baby of the Winslow family. Cute, bubbly, and full of potential. Judy Winslow didn't just appear on Family Matters. She was part of the very foundation. From day one, she was there, laughing at the dinner table, teasing her big brother, and asking mom and dad the kinds of questions only the youngest child would dare to ask. And then, right in the middle of the series, she was gone. No goodbye, no storyline, no explanation, just erased like she never existed. Played by Jamie Foxworth, Judy was the third Winslow child, right behind Eddie and Laura. She wasn't the star, but she was still important. She was family. Fans watched her grow up on screen, and while she didn't get as many lines as the older kids, she brought charm and that classic little sister energy. In season 4, she even played the flower girl in a wedding episode. Everything seemed normal, and then nothing. That wedding episode would be Judy's last. She never came back down the stairs. She never got a Judy staying with Grandma line. The family never even mentioned her again. Holidays came and went on the show, and nobody wondered where Judy was. Not even her siblings. It was like the Winslows had only ever had 2 kids. So what happened? Behind the scenes, the show was changing, and fast. What started as a family sitcom had become the Steve Urkel show. The writers leaned hard into science fiction plots, time machines, cloning, potions that turned Urkel into a suave alter ego. In all that madness, quieter characters like Judy didn't fit anymore. And there were budget concerns, too. With the rising cost of keeping the show going and more attention focused on Urkel's growing popularity, the producers made a decision. Judy was cut, but instead of giving her a proper farewell, they just pretended she never existed. Today, it's considered one of the coldest write-offs in TV history, and fans have never stopped talking about it. There's even a myth that she walked up the stairs and never came back, even though, in reality, she was last seen at that wedding. As for Jamie Foxworth, her life after Family Matters had its own share of ups and downs, but she eventually found peace and started speaking out about her experience. Her story became a cautionary tale about how Hollywood can forget you just as fast as it finds you. Judy Winslow didn't just disappear from Family Matters. She disappeared from TV's memory, but not from ours. Number 1, he went upstairs to grab a basketball and never came back down. That's not a joke. It's the most legendary disappearance in TV history. Chuck Cunningham, the older brother on Happy Days, didn't just vanish. He was erased from existence. And his vanishing act became so iconic. It has a name, Chuck Cunningham Syndrome. When a character disappears without a trace, and the show acts like they never existed. That's Chuck's legacy. In the early seasons of Happy Days, Chuck was the classic big brother, a tall, athletic college student with a love for basketball and a tendency to grunt more than talk. He wasn't the star, but he was part of the family. Richie's older sibling, Mr. and Mrs. Cunningham's firstborn. Played first by Gavin O'Herlihy and later by Randolph Roberts, Chuck never got deep storylines, but he was there, part of the family picture. Until he wasn't. By season 3, Chuck was gone. No goodbye. No going off to college. No, Chuck moved out. Nothing. The show just quietly erased him. And suddenly, the Cunninghams only had 2 kids, Richie and Joni. No one ever mentioned Chuck again. It was like he'd never sat at the table or bounced a basketball in the hallway. Viewers were stunned and a little confused. Did we imagine him? So what really happened? Behind the scenes, the show was shifting. Fonzie had become the breakout star. Leather jacket, motorcycle, and all. Audiences couldn't get enough of him. The writers and producers realized the show didn't need a generic big brother when they had the coolest guy on TV stealing every scene. Chuck's character, already underwritten, just didn't fit the new formula. O'Herlihy, the first actor to play Chuck, said later he didn't want to be stuck playing a guy whose only purpose was to mumble and bounce a ball. When he left, they recast him, but it didn't help. Chuck never clicked. So rather than write him out properly, the show just acted like he'd never been there. It was bold and weirdly effective, and thus, Chuck Cunningham Syndrome was born. To this day, TV fans use the term when a character disappears mysteriously and the show never acknowledges it. It all started with a forgotten brother who quietly walked upstairs and became a legend by never coming back down. Chuck may not have lasted long, but his exit rewrote the rules of TV. Because sometimes the most unforgettable thing a character can do is vanish. And just like that, we're out of here, but at least we said goodbye, which is more than we can say for poor Judy or Chuck. If you had fun walking down TV's memory hole, give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you never miss another Vanishing Act. Got a character we forgot? Drop it in the comments. Unless you plan on disappearing too.